All right. So tonight I want to talk a little bit about something you can do in the JavaScript API, which I don't know how many people actually would need to do it, but you can. It's an option. And that is working with the abort controller and abort signals to cancel something that you're doing in the API, right? If you're not familiar with it, the abort controller is it's in a way that in JavaScript that you can, for example, cancel some sort of an asynchronous task, right? One of the things that was really cool with the Dojo toolkit, Dojo 1, was the fact that its deferreds were able to be canceled, which was really convenient. It was like a promise you can cancel. But then at some point in the promise spec, they took out that was proposed at some point, but then they decided not to. So you can't cancel promises, but you can use the abort signal to go ahead and just no ignore it. Right. It is a DOM implementation. So if you're going to use it in Node, you have to use a polyfill, which I've shown in my previous videos talking about how to use the JavaScript API with Node. You have to bring in that polyfill for the abort controller and the fetch polyfill, because that's also a DOM thing as well. So it's got the Mozilla doc, MDN docs have samples how to do it, right? I think in their sample these for fetch. You abort it on click, so you abort download stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's convenient. But if you look at the JavaScript API, you'll find references to it throughout the API. So if we look at feature layer, for example, look at some of the methods on here. All of the query methods take a second argument for options, and one of those options is to pass an abort signal. So like, let's look at query extent, right? So query, you're going to pass your query in there, but then also you have the second option is going to take an abort signal. So that's signal is a property, give it an abort signal. So an object can be used to abort the asynchronous task, right? That's pretty much what it's going to do. Then it points to the MDN documentation how to do it. I could have swore somewhere in here in the SDK documentation for JavaScript API, there is a demo or some sort of snippet in the doc about how to use the abort controller. I, however, was able to find it right now. But it's there somewhere. Trust me, it's in here somewhere. I remember seeing it because Jan wrote it and added it to snippets somewhere, but I just could not, for the life of me, find it right now. But trust me, it works just fine. So let's try it out and see when you might use it, right? So I like this layer because it's got a lot of data in it, 2 million features. If I really zoom out, it could take a little while to draw, pull all the data in, and things are happening, right? I want it to be interactive. I'm doing stuff with it, and maybe I'm going to be doing something like I want to query all the features of my extent to get some statistics, right? I'm gonna run stats. That's a really useful. I'm gonna run stats on the data direct from the layer and get the results back and put them into charts or something like that, or a table. I don't know. You guys do weird stuff sometimes. But maybe, for example, I don't want to do the layer view because the layer view only has the attributes needed to be able to draw the data itself. So I've got a lot of points here. I've got 2 million points in this layer. Maybe a couple 100,000 may show at any time. So I don't want to slow that down. So maybe I want to query the data. Although, to be honest with you, I'm going to hit the 2,000 limit on this data set anyway, but then I can do some pagination. But that's only if I get the features. If I do stats, it should be fine. I'm rambling, sorry. So, okay, let's get down to it when you might do something like this. So I've already got my map set up. I got my feature layer in here. So on view.when, I'm actually going to make this an async method in here so I can do all of my cool async stuff. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to create my query. I'm going to do that for my layer. It's going to be layer dot create query, right? So that is the query that comes from the layer. I want my layer view. So I'm going to get my layer view. Actually, you know what? I don't care about the layer view. I could show the layer view, and that would work fine as well, but I don't really need it. Not in this case. What I am going to need is some stuff from the watch utils. So let's go ahead and bring that in. So I want to bring in import from ArcGIS Core. Wait, what am I doing? Can't spell today. ArcGIS Core watch utils. So I'm going to bring in the pausable because I'm going to want to do some pausing action in my app. I also want to bring in when true once in here. Okay. So now that I've got that, I can do some stuff in here. Let's go ahead and create my handle. And if you watched my video yesterday, you saw me do all kinds of cool stuff with watch utils. So I'm going to do it on the view. I'm going to do it on the extent. And it's going to be another async method in here. That's going to be my extent. Okay. So there's my extent. So right away what I want to do is I want to pause my handle. So handle.pause. All right. Boom. So I've stopped the handler for the watching for the extent. It's going to stop until something else happens. Now at this point, I want to start creating my abort controller and my abort signal right away because I'm going to be using them in my request, and I need to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and have it cancel or abort the signal when I click on the map. I'm just trying to find some sort of interaction that you might do in your application. This could be like a button. Maybe somebody is opening a new form or something, or maybe they're going to, you're using routing and that's going to activate some other kind of stuff to happen on top of the map. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I figure a click of it is pretty straightforward and easy to kind of grasp to cancel this request. It's an interaction that's going to do something. So let's create my controller. That's going to be equal to my new abort controller. And now I need my signal. So const signal is going to be equal to the controller. Oops, not minus. Okay. So I need both the controller and the signal because the signal is what's going to get passed down the line. And the controller is what's going to control whether I'm going to abort that signal or not. And then under the hood, the JavaScript API, instead of like Esri requests and stuff, is going to check to see if that signal has been aborted. If it has, it's going to cancel the request that it's going to do. Or it's going to, if there's a request in flight, it's just going to cancel it and you won't get any results back, right? So, okay. So now I need a handler. So I have an event handler because I want to listen for the view.on click and pass a little function in here. Now, when I click on the map, right away, I'm going to abort the abort controller. So that's going to cancel the signal there. There's even some doc. So wait, if I keep forgetting how to bring up doc in here. Here, so invoking this method will set the object's abort signals, aborted flag, and signal to any observers that the associated activity is to be aborted. Right? It's right there in the documentation. So read your documentation, people. It's very helpful. That's the RDoc. That's just the doc. No, that's JavaScript doc from MDN or wherever those types exist. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the event handler for the click event because I don't need that anymore. And if you didn't know, you could do that with all the events. They're event listeners, so you need a way to remove them. And you get this object which just has a remove method to destroy the event. Now I'm going to go ahead and resume because I've canceled this, but I'm going to go ahead and resume my pausable. And let's just go ahead and log out console.log controller aborted. So I've done that. That's my handler, my on click. Now let's go ahead and do the actual request and do something here. So I'm going to wait for when true once on the view stationary. Spell that right? Yeah, I did. See? Spelling. Third grade spelling bee champion. Twice in a row. Lost 1 year. That was really... Never did it again. Pissed off. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my geometry. Query dot geometry equal to extent. And now I'm going to go ahead and query my features, right? So this is what I was talking about. I'm only going to get back. I'm not going to do the full stats query here, because for demo purposes, I don't think I really need to. I just want to show you what's going to happen if I try to do a very large query and then cancel it at some point. So I pass my query, I pass my options for that query, and I pass a signal to it. All right, so there we go. So now if everything goes through, I'm going to console.log. Oh my gosh. Okay. Features dot length. There we go. Once I've done this, now I can go ahead and resume. No, dot. I'll resume my pausable handler. I'm going to remove the event handler. Because if I got this far, I never actually clicked on the map, so this this stuff in here doesn't really happen. So if I don't do this, I need to do my cleanup down here at the bottom. All right, so, all right. See if this works on the first try. I've tested this once before, and it worked just fine. So if I move my map around, bam, 2000. I'm going to hit the 2000 limit. But again, if this were statistics, that wouldn't happen. I would just get my stats back, and everything would be very nice. We will zoom out one more. Again, 2000 limit. Move around and click controller aborted, right? You're going to get this little error here of uncaught in promise and stuff, but don't worry about it. That is just the request getting canceled. If you look at the messages, it tells you that this was the URL it was doing, and just it was a canceled request. All right, you're good to go. Bam. See, and then it gets passed in the request options to as a request, and the aborts the signal gets passed here, and it's kind of watched under the hood for that to happen. So now if I move around again, click the map, cancel. Because again, maybe I want to cancel that request because maybe I'm going to open a pop-up, and then that pop-up has a promise returning for the content. That promise is going to do some sort of like a buffer around the point, query some features, and display some data inside my pop-up, right? I'm going to get pretty complicated here. You're going to kind of, if you're doing a lot of requests like that, don't do requests on extent change for one. Again, this is just an example. But if you're going to do it like this. You're going to wait for the view to be stationary because you don't want to make request intermediate as you're panning the map around. You don't want that. Wait for the map to stop moving. Do your requests, and then you can parse your data, process it, whatever you're going to do. But again, if I do that and do something on the pop-up where it's going to do some more queries, that's just more requests happening there. So that's a lot of traffic happening. They call that a chatty app. We've got a lot of stuff happening back and forth. Yes, maps are naturally chatty because we're pulling data and stuff as you pan around, but still, you're just adding to that traffic, right? But yeah, that's just kind of the idea I wanted to give you here of using the abort signal. Again, you could use it pretty much anywhere that takes these query methods, whether it's on not just feature layer, but any of the layers, the layer views. As your request definitely can take it. So if I go to as a request here, where are we at? Here we go. Options. So it's in the request options for as a request to take the abort signal. And I don't know. Let me see here. Maybe there's something for abort. Oh, here we go. Look at here's a example of how to cancel. Use the abort signal in as a request if you're using that directly. So you just have have it in the catch, and if it's an abort error, you're going to console log abort error, and so on. But once you pass a signal in here, and then you abort the signal right away, it's just not going to happen. So you just let the user know, yeah, your stuff was canceled for whatever reason, right? So yeah, that's about it. That's all I want to cover. Give you an idea of how to use it. It's not something that is, I don't think, widely used, and it's very specific use cases that you might use it. But if you ever have to, it's there and it's available for you to do. So knock yourselves out, make some cool apps. Thanks.